welcome back. I'm gonna go share the link to this stream. Tower, would you mind telling the production group chat that we're ready to go?
Will do.
Thank you. All right. So before we get started, we want to say shout out to everyone who made this happen. Myself, Tower on commentary, as well as Royal Sabacc was here earlier. Loopy and BK for doing the camera and technical setup, and all the judges and TOs for making everything run smoothly. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, it's been fun to be doing some casting here, and we're about to see the Brothers War.
The Brothers
Emmanuel
Apodaca
versus Carlos here, I believe.
Yeah, both these players are apparently pretty well known in the community and have a lot of titles and wins under their belt.
Now, is Emmanuel the Sabine player?
I believe so.
Yeah, Sabine ECL. That's right. I was mixed up.
Yeah.
Or wait, or is he the Sabine Tarkentown player? No,
No, that's Xavier. Xavier's still in it, by the way. He's in the other top 4 match.
Xavier's the Tarkentown player. Okay, yeah. I had thought that the Sabine Tarkentown player had a different name, but I just wanted to make sure. All right. Well, this is going to be Quinlan Tarkentown versus Sabine ECL. This is a matchup where, unlike in those Sabine Yellow and Sabine Red matchups, Sabine ECL often doesn't have as many options for evading that ping by playing one costs or whatever. So, should be interesting to see how this goes.
All right, let's see. I can pull up their list. Might be a second, but I do have them. So the other matchup is also Quinlan versus Sabine, but it's the Sabine Tarkentown, as we were talking about. All right, I just posted the list in the production chat if you want to take a look at them. And I can pull them up on stream now also. All right, and this is Carlos's Quinlan list. It actually looks a lot different from Loopy's. He's not on the land speeders at all. He's on more expensive stuff. He's got Pose in there. He's got 3 Hans. Not on the Radiant 7 at all. He's also got the Maces in the sideboard and the Shadow Hover tanks. So that's interesting. Tower, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here.
Okay, great.
Taking a look at this list. We're not seeing those X34 land speeders, huh?
Yeah, it does seem like a really good card in Quinlan.
I think it's one of the best cards you can play personally, but
and here's
Carlos has evidently been doing pretty well without it. So, we'll see how he does here in this top 4 match.
So yeah, this Sabine list is it's running some of the new stuff, but a lot of it's old. He's got 3 Chewies in there, 3 Lukes also. I know we were talking a little bit about whether or not to run those in Sabine earlier, but Emmanuel says yes. We're going to run him. He's got 3 Sabine's Masterpiece also, which is interesting.
Sabine's Masterpiece is a really strong card, in my opinion. What you're often going to see a playline where you want to lead off with a command unit, and then turn 2, you ambush Sabine's Masterpiece and use the on attack to give it +1, so it's coming in as a 4/4. Very powerful playline in general, and a great way to deal with things like a Falcon start from Han 1. All right. Players going ahead.
I've told people about the
drawing
camera.
up.
It is slightly crooked, and we're going to see what we can do about it.
So I think in this matchup, what Quinlan would really like to do is ping and remove Sabine's opening play. That ping plus Tarkentown combination can be very strong, and we'll see whether or not he gets a chance to execute it here.
Looks like Emmanuel is starting out here with black 1.
Yeah, it's going to be black 1 on the field.
And Quinlan gets the 2-drop. And
yep.
R2.
Crafty Smuggler pings. Wow, yeah.
But
I think that's a major error from our Sabine player, playing the R2D2 as a pilot onto black 1. Basically just throws away a card since it dies to Tarkentown anyway. And I actually think it would have been probably a much better starting play to just play R2 as a ground unit here. Although I don't know, maybe not. At least the Tarkentown is dealt with, but this is not how you want to start things necessarily. Sabine ping being used, 1 to each base.
We're going to get the camera adjusted between games. All right, hotshot out of hand here. Interesting.
Yeah, hotshot from hand is a high efficiency play in some ways. Would also open up a potential 2-drop unit for a ping. We do see a 2-drop unit, but it doesn't ping, as Emmanuel has brought out Sabine's Masterpiece. Now, he doesn't have any other colors of units, so Sabine Masterpiece has none of its abilities active, but it is still a 3/3 in space.
It
can attack and defeat that. Yeah, it can attack and defeat that A-Wing and only take 1 damage in return. Honestly, not a bad play at all. Looks like there's a Darksaber in hand, as well as a Battlefield Marine, and I believe a copy of Wrecker. So I think if I'm the Sabine player here, I think I probably use Sabine's Masterpiece to clear the A-Wing. No, he goes for the base.
All right, he says, I'm going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I don't know that's how I would have played it, but that's okay. Our Quinlan player is also racing here. Very interesting.
Yeah, and he's got more damage on board right now.
Yeah, now that Darksaber might change things there, if he can live to equip it. But if there's another Hotshot Blaster or a Surprise Strike, this Smuggler is going to kill Sabine. Looks like there is not. It's just going to be a swing to base down to, I think that's like 12 damage on there now, so 13 HP left.
Yeah,
probably going to be Darksaber here for Sabine. Buffs her up quite a bit. Oh, but a disabling Fang Fighter shows up to remove Darksaber immediately. And this is why I think this is not a great meta to be playing cards like Tarkentown and Darksaber. The threat of pilots and pilot leaders has led to more upgrade removal than we've seen in most past environments. And playing an expensive upgrade like that is asking for a potential blowout, as we saw here. I think with that, our Sabine player is now far behind, but we'll see how this pans out.
This, I mean, the masterpiece is now hitting for bigger with Sabine out there.
Yeah, I can do an additional 1 damage on attack. I don't know though. I mean, at this point, like, I mean, at this point, our Quinlan player actually has lethal if you incorporate Quinlan's flip as a potential factor as well.
Yeah, Emmanuel does have a number of ways to kill that A-Wing, though.
True. Yeah, it looks like it's going to actually be blue leader ambushing the A-Wing and clearing it, staying on the board. Nice, efficient play, but he's pretty far behind. I don't know that it's going to be enough. Now, this does also mean that he has a green unit on board for Sabine's masterpiece. So at this point, the masterpiece could give out an experience when it attacks and also deal 1 damage to a target. We could, for instance, see the masterpiece attack, buff itself, use a ping to knock the shield off of the crafty smuggler, and then leave Sabine in a position to clear that unit out. It looks like a battlefield marine now being played.
All right. Remember,
I just don't know that it matters.
Emmanuel still has ECL up and Wrecker in hand, which could.
Yeah, but he's so far behind. I don't think he can. I don't think he can win at this point. So, like,
Probably, yeah,
if Quinlan swings base, Emmanuel will be left at 3 HP. And at that point, even if he has ECL Wrecker, it doesn't save him. You know, he could potentially trade for the Fang Fighter while knocking the shield off. But even then, Quinlan stays alive and gets to swing for 3. So, yeah. Trades for the Fang Fighter, knocks the shield off the smuggler, gives an experience somewhere. So this is the power of Sabine's masterpiece. Multiple on-attack abilities, extremely relevant. But the problem here is he has to deal with 2 units. Oh, no, you know what he can do?
He can ECL
He
Wrecker.
can ECL Wrecker, use the ability to kill the... Yeah. He's got to not swing with Sabine. So he's still alive on Wrecker killing both units. But I think but there's a Falcon, so I think that may be it. I don't know what. Yeah, 24. Yeah, so ECL Wrecker doesn't save the day anymore. Yes, it would kill both those ground units, but it leaves the Falcon on the board to close things out, and I think that's going to be game over. He's going to play it out, though. ECL Wrecker for the double kill. And then Falcon to base. That's game, and we're going to move to game 2. See whether or not Emmanuel can do a better job with Sabine the second time around. Bit of an interesting match there.
All right, let's take a look at these sideboards. Carlos has, looks like, a lot of stuff for longer games. Maces, techs. I imagine we bring in the 3rd Fang Fighter, or maybe we don't. He might be fine with 2. Actually, no. Emmanuel is running a lot of pilots in addition to the Darksaber, so I imagine we're going to see the 3rd Fang Fighter. Tech probably doesn't come in. The Shadowed Hover Tank is a maybe, but I think it probably comes in. It lines up really, really well into Sabine on 4. Spark Rebellion's another maybe.
Interesting.
Do you think you bring in Spark in this matchup?
Maybe, I don't know.
All right, let's take a look at Emmanuel's sideboard. Let's see. He's got some interesting ones in here. Wolf, probably not, because Carlos doesn't have healing. Fang Fighter, again, probably not. Ewing's a maybe. Sundari's a maybe. Bright Hope's a maybe. I could see bringing in any of those. Is there anything that you want to bring out? I'm probably bringing Darksaber out. The pilots maybe stay.
Yeah. I mean, so the one cost R2 is actually nice as an opening play because it is one cost. You don't immediately get pinged, but I don't know. Why does his deck only have one copy of Sabine Explosives Artist?
You're right. That is kind of weird. I
Huh.
guess he might just think that other units are better.
It looks like his opening plays are really oriented towards trying to get a green unit on the field for the Sabine's Masterpiece ambush, as we're seeing 3 copies of the Battlefield Marine, which is normally worse than Sabine Explosives Artist, and 3 copies of the 3 copies of Luke Jedi Knight. Sometimes Battlefield Marine is better than Sabine, but Sabine's on attack ability is really, really useful, and the ability to sometimes be immune to being attacked actually comes in handy more than you might expect as well.
Bright Hope is a really interesting card to me in this matchup because of the Falcon, mainly. It blocks that off.
Could be a nice defensive play. The Sindari Peacekeepers help if the match turns into a race.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like this is a case where they need disabling Fang Fighter here. Top 8 Gamer says, I don't think I've ever heard people say Sabine is better than Battlefield Marine. Sabine Explosives Artist is one of the best 2-drops in the game, in my opinion. It's worse than Battlefield Marine defensively, but that on-attack ability sometimes makes it substantially better offensively. It really it depends on the matchup and the situation, but especially with the 2-cost 2/2 shielded profile being so common, Sabine Wren Explosives Artist can deal with that very effectively. And now let's be real, Battlefield Marine's really good. I'm not saying Battlefield Marine is bad, but the Sabine Explosives Artist is pretty sweet.
All right, and again, it looks like Emmanuel went first and opened. I mean, going first into Quinlan is kind of risky because he opened his Marine. Carlos played Sabine, and then Carlos Tarkentowned it, which is pretty much exactly
kind of
an
unfortunate start here for Sabine, but that's one of the main things this Quinlan deck is built to do, and that's why having those 1-drops for some of those other colors of Sabine can, in my opinion, be a more productive tactic. But we'll see whether or not Emmanuel can recover from losing his starting play here.
All right, red 5. I haven't been here all day. Has the meta looked healthy, or is Quinlan Sabine taking over? They're definitely like.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate play.
They've been the top 2 decks,
buff.
But there's been lots of other stuff showing. We've had a different deck almost every match.
Yeah, we've had a fair few different matchups, Josh.
Yeah.
So Emmanuel in a lot of trouble playing a Fleet Lieutenant with nothing to buff, and Carlos just trades Sabine for it. So Emmanuel definitely pretty far behind right now, not managing to land that early damage that he's trying to do, not managing to even get any sticking on the board. We'll see how things continue, though. Not over yet.
All right, this is the Sabine flip turn. Ooh, Emmanuel's looking at his ECL to deal with the hover tank. Oh, and it's going to be Sindari. Sindari deals with that nicely. Free in the way for Sabine.
Let's see here. Is that a Rebel Assault for +1 damage?
Might be.
I mean, I guess he sees an opportunity to get some bonus damage in, and with that early game going pretty badly for him and ECL already used, I guess he thinks I may as well get as much as I can and just try and struggle through here. Weird situation, really. There's Quinlan on the field. Now we do have a Wrecker in hand, but without ECL, that's not going to be as effective an answer.
Wait, how is Quinlan deploying now? Are they on 5?
Yeah, because that last turn with the Sindari and Rebel Assault, that was the 4-resource turn because that was the Sabine flip.
Oh,
and then
sorry.
This is the 5-resource turn. Quinlan flips, swings into Sabine. Red 5 defeats Sabine with the on-attack ability. We have Chewy from Emmanuel, but he gets ambushed by Plo Koon, and man, this is a really bad situation for Sabine. Like, seems very far behind at this point.
Yep. Without ECL up, this one's going to be hard to come back from.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what happens.
All right, he does have a wrecker.
Yeah, Wrecker clears Plo Koon. It's something, but it's not I think what he really needs. I mean, I don't know what he really needs here. We could easily see, so Quinlan could actually trade for Wrecker here. We could have no, it's not quite a trade. It would require, because that Tarkentown's already used. So he might just want to put more damage on base.
Yeah.
If he can get that Han Solo Reluctant Hero, that can clear Wrecker.
Yeah, or if
I was thinking at first that Quinlan could swing into Wrecker and be followed up by Red 5, but that's not possible here.
All right, Poe, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, Wrecker can trade for that, but it is a powerful unit on the field.
Yep, Wrecker would have to die also. I think we see a Bright Hope in Emmanuel's hand, so we know those came in. And it looks pretty nice into the red 5 at the moment. All right, Emmanuel's got initiative here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could see a swing to base. Could be some substantial damage added to the total. But the problem is, I'm pretty sure this Quinlan player has lethal on board.
6, 7, 8, 9,
Yeah,
10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
He wouldn't even need to use Poe's ability for extra damage here. So Sabine in a tough spot. It's going to be a swing into Quinlan. Quinlan off the board now, and a bit of extra damage via Overwhelm. Red 3 doesn't quite have enough damage to defeat Wrecker here, but the problem is we could see a swing for 8 to base with Poe, or it could be 6 to base. Ooh, right, it's a hot shot blaster.
At least 8.
8 in a discard, so that's going to be 10 to base. So now Red 3 threatens lethal. I think this game is about to be over.
Emmanuel does have Bright Hope, but then Carlos claims and hits with
Poe. But that's just a claim, right? Well, he's going to play it. There's the Bright Hope. Bounces Wrecker. Very interesting.
Seeing if he can find anything.
I don't know what could possibly save him, though. All Carlos has to do is take the initiative. And it looks like he does, and wrapping stuff up. So very, very strong, convincing wins here from a Quinlan Tarkentown into Sabine. It felt like Quinlan really had these games under control.
Yeah, I think this is generally what you're looking for as Quinlan. This matchup is pretty favorable. Yeah,
this second game in particular, Sabine really struggled to get almost anything on the board.
Oh, did I have the round showing top 8 this whole time? This was top 4.
Sorry, what was that?
I was saying I had the overlay was wrong. It was showing top 8 this whole time, but it was actually top 4.
Yeah, that was actually top 4. So now we're going to move on to the finals. And has the other top 4 match concluded yet? This one was pretty fast.
Not yet. They're in game 2. Apparently, they're going to get moved over if they go to game 3.
Okay. So we may be following up with the final game of the other side of the semifinals, or we may be delaying until it's just the finals directly. Josh Doe in chat says, I'm struggling with what beats Quinlan. It feels like nothing but smuggle decks can go into it. Rebel Trader, what's your experience with that? Is there anything you think is especially good against Quinlan right now?
I think Kira is pretty good. I feel very comfortable in that matchup as Kira.
I'll also say I actually don't feel bad about that matchup if I'm playing Sabine yellow. At the Denver sector event, I got paired into four different Quinlan Tarkentown players, and I won 3 out of 4. And the one that I lost was against a very strong player, and it did go to all 3 games, and it was close. So I think yellow Sabine is actually pretty reasonable into Quinlan. The difference being those 1-drops and stuff. Gudo the Gamer says Kaz does well into Quinlan. I went 4-0 into Quinlan at Beatle. I was the only Kaz in the field that week. So yeah, that new Kazuda Ziano, may have pronounced that wrong, but a interesting leader.
You could
and
also
Gudo
just
says
play
it was
the
Kaz
smuggle
30
decks.
HP red. Josh asks, what are you doing to win? So as Sabine, what I'm doing is I'm trying to play multiple small units to dodge underneath his Quinlan pings. So if he starts out and he's thinking he's going to ping off my starting play and I play 2 1-drops, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Especially if I can play like cartel turncoats and stuff. And Guido the Gamer saying that with the Kaz deck, it's trench run, burst damage for a cause. Yeah, Kazuda plus Trench Run or Heroic Sacrifice is a very strong combination. I have a video explaining that, but you basically get to ignore the downsides of those cards.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to the team for fixing our crooked camera.
Zane saying, I think CAD may have a good matchup into Quinlan, but who knows, post Django, as almost all decks have changes slightly to not have to angle against Django. Yeah, that's another good point. I think we're going to see some changes in a lot of builds, and I don't know where that will end up leading in terms of the meta once the player base has fully adapted to the recent suspensions.
All right. We're still waiting on updates from the other top 4 game. That game's Loopy versus Loopy's on Quinlan Tarkentown versus Xavier on Sabine Tarkentown. So 3 out of 4 Tarkentown decks in top 4, and the 4th one was an ECL, so all 25-point bases. It's like we're back
Very
in set 1. Back in set 1, nobody was running 30 health.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zane, for tuning in. We've had a great time casting.
Yeah, there've been a few technical difficulties, but you know, it's still been some fun Star Wars Unlimited, especially as we're exploring a new meta here. Another interesting thing about Sabine in this brave new world is that if we do see an uptick in control decks, playing Sabine might be a good spot to be in against those control decks.
Yeah. I generally feel pretty good with Kira into Sabine, but it can be tough. Let's see. What are some decks that we didn't really see today that you think might be good into the meta?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I think one thing that people have been discussing is it time for hard control to come back now that DJ is no longer there to ruin their fun. So I think it's possible that we'll see decks like, the Iden Double Blue, for instance, is kind of a classic hard control deck. I know there's been some Bosk Blue play even before the suspensions. There's other stuff. You know, you could potentially see some of the like longer game Palpatine decks. In general, I think the removal of DJ probably favors later game leaders, as one of the main things that was so strong about him was his ability to prevent your opponent's leader from flipping on its normal time, especially if they had one of those ones that deploys later on in the game. I don't know whether or not we're going to be seeing like set one Vaders come back and so on, but if nothing else, I suspect we're going to have a few players playing those at the upcoming major events in order to try to win that free showcase, not available otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think the late game leaders are going to be big. Palpatine, Yoda. We saw one Yoda in round 1 today. SOR Vader Blue. Yeah, that one could come back as well. The hard controls. I think soft control also is maybe even better positioned because at least for the moment right now, what's getting played is like Sabine's, Quinlan's, Hans, and I think soft control matches up a little bit better into those.
In chat, we have someone saying Spark of Rebellion Vader Blue, no disintegration is gross in that deck. I don't know. No disintegrations is an interesting card, so that's one. It's a 3-cost aggression villainy card that deals damage to a non-leader unit equal to 1 less than its remaining HP. So it's a great setup for that Spark of Rebellion Vader ability to ping them and do that remaining 1 damage. Also can potentially be used on your own units to really charge up grit.
Rose Tico, interesting. I do think like blue green hero in general is going to be pretty strong. Like we were talking about Yoda, but Luke is also well positioned.
I think jump to Lightspeed Rose is not that bad, to be honest.
Yeah. Lando also came second at the
Lando's kind of sick.
Yeah.
The question is whether or not I think you can put together a strong enough endgame with heroism. Right now, a lot of the endgame, like heavy win condition type cards are villainy, and heroism doesn't necessarily have the same top end. But I don't know. I think you could potentially do it. Like, imagine if you have, like, maybe you have red in your aspects, and you bring in crate dragons or something to be that top end. You know, there is some stuff out
All right, and it looks like they're moving over the other match for us right now. It's going to be going into game 3 between Loopy and Xavier.
Yeah, let's see here. So this is going to be the 3rd game of a 1-on-1 match. Is that right, Rebel Trader?
Yep, exactly.
Should be interesting to see how it goes.
All right, and it was Xavier got game 1, Loopy got game 2. Xavier has been on stream twice, and I think he lost both those games. Oh no, he ended up winning the second one, didn't he?
I think This is going to be interesting. We will see whether or not we can get the. We will see whether or not he can get potentially the multiple small units type set up to duck under those pings from Quinlan. But I think when we saw him play Quinlan earlier, he won the first one and then lost the second two.
Yep. Yeah. And it looks he did win the second match we had on stream against
and there were some very close games. You know, we saw, I think twice we saw him be off by one, but we'll see what he can do here. It's 1-1, and whoever wins. And so it you know, we could see a Quinlan versus Quinlan finals depending on how this one goes.
Yeah. All right, what do you think this matchup really depends on? What are the key pivot points?
I think one of the big things is whether or not Quinlan that ping off plus Tarkentown on the first turn to immediately stall Sabine's momentum. That's really what the Quinlan deck wants to do. This is why those one-cost units can be important, is they tend to make that much harder for Quinlan to pull off. Although in some cases, Quinlan can still clear that type of unit if he's running cards like Daring Raid. It should be interesting to see exactly how it goes. Another interesting aspect of this particular matchup is that I believe the double red Sabine has less reach in this incarnation than some other Sabine builds. So may not, like, if we get the situation where Sabine stabilizes at like 18 or something, it's a lot less likely that we have the Sabine deck making some kind of double for a cause comeback or whatever. In fact, I believe this deck isn't running for a cause I believe in at all.
Yeah, it's not. Let's see. Oh, I can try and get the list.
All right. There's the fist bump, and here we go. The final battle here.
All right. I'll go ahead and show this list real quick. This is Xavier's list. Running most of the things that you would expect. We've seen him a couple times on stream today, and it looks like they're getting started soon. So I'll close it quick, but take your screenshots now. You can always rewind and find it again later. And it's also
all right.
the
winner of this will move on to the finals. If Loopy wins this, it's going to be a Quinlan mirror in the finals, and if Xavier can take it down, then we're going to have a essentially a Quinlan Tarkentown versus Double Red Sabine. Let's see how this goes.
And for those wondering about the camera quality, the reason it's like this is because it's a limitation of the internet. The way we do these things is that I'm in Oregon. I think Tower's in California. This tournament's happening in Wisconsin. And, you know, that means we have to send signal from Wisconsin to Oregon. And it takes a lot to do that. We've tried to do it like streaming from the store, and it's not always possible to do that. Like, if this is what the store internet's capable of doing, it's going to be even more difficult to actually fully stream it. So this is the best we can do with the equipment that we have.
It's going to be 2 1-drop units for our Sabine player. It's going to be an R2D2 plus a copy of Mr. Bones. And Loopy brings out the Green Squadron A-Wing, but I don't think this is the start that he's hoping for, because this does mean that he doesn't get a Quinlan ping this turn, and we could see a bunch of damage getting pushed fast if Quinlan can't find something to stabilize that ground arena.
And yeah, again, it's Xavier's able to arena dodge here. So he's got 2 things in the ground. Loopy's got 1 thing in space. Benthic is going to attack. Oh, sorry, that's not Benthic. That's Mr. Bones. I was going to say if it was Benthic, he couldn't trigger on the R2.
All right. Lots of ground threats here, and our Sabine player playing card after card. An A-wing of his own. Now that does, of course, the Quinlan's A-wing can just clear that out, but it will use a precious action. And now what is this? Are we seeing? It looks like that R2-D2 swinging in for 1 damage to Sabine Explosives Artist, and then Tarkentown being used to clear R2 off the field and leave the ground arena firmly in Sabine's control. This is looking like a very good start for Xavier here.
It is.
What's the unit on the right there? The far right or the top of the screen?
Yeah, I can't quite tell.
Is that
it's
a
glare?
Soldier of the 501st maybe? Or a Benthic 2 tubes or something?
Yeah,
I think it was a 1. I think it was a 1 cost because he played both it and that A-wing.
Yeah, it would have to
Now,
be
of
1
course,
cost.
yeah. Now, of course, we see Loopy's A-wing clearing out the one that Xavier just sent onto the field, but that does leave that ground arena wide open for a lot to be pushed through, including a potential swing from Sabine herself, who will be able to deploy this turn. R2 leads it off, looks at that top card and leaves it on the top of the deck, I believe. 6 damage now on Quinlan's base, leaving only 19 HP remaining. Kira on the field, showing Heroic Resolve and Daring Raid.
Yeah.
Not a huge hand here. Now, I think our Sabine player might have been hoping to play his whole start firing off Mr. Bones' effect, but that's not going to be possible, as one of these cards will cost more, and he wants to spend all his resources to play it, or just play the other card.
Well, they're both 1
Now, of
cost,
course, there
right?
could
So
be
he
a
could play
smuggle
both.
scenario. No, because it's +3 from Kira, right?
3,
So it would cost
right?
4.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
+2.
No, it's all good. Now he could potentially have a copy of Arm Teeth here, I believe. I think we saw that from him earlier. Arm to the Teeth would smuggle out for 4, and that would be all his resources, but it would allow a potential on-attack buff to an additional unit. Ping from Sabine. Man, I would not like to be Loopy in this scenario. All his resources are spent, and he's still staring down a bunch of swings, plus at least a play from this Sabine deck.
Judges tell us it was Heroic Resolve that was named.
Heroic Resolve was named. Okay, so that would leave him with a Daring Raid in hand. Or he could play the Heroic Resolve for all. Honestly, in this situation, I might just play the Heroic Resolve for all resources onto Sabine, though, of course, if you have an Arm to the Teeth and resources, that would be better.
No, this is the correct. This is correct for the game wins and losses. This is the other top
and it
4
looks
match.
like Xavier is going with the playline that I was just discussing. Heroic Resolve played even through the cost increase. It looks like it's probably going to be buffing Sabine here. No, he's going to change it. Buffing Mr. Bones.
Okay.
Odd play there because it does leave Mr. Bones able to be cleared.
Yeah.
By a swing from Kira, but maybe the plan there is that it's a setup and then Kira can be removed by R2, but I don't understand the value of that play. Now we see a swing, another swing, lots of damage in. 7 HP left. I don't know. I struggle to see Loopy coming back from this. If he does, it'll be very impressive. Maybe the plan here, I think that third unit is Benthic 2 tubes. Maybe the plan here is that putting the heroic resolves on Mr. Bones makes it a must kill, which means that Benthic 2 tubes gets to live and do his own buff.
Yeah.
Whereas if he had played the heroic resolve on Sabine, then
you're right,
it
is
would.
Benthic.
But the thing is, if he'd played the heroic resolve on Sabine, he would also be able to kill the base hit. So I think that might have been better. But you know, whatever.
All right, Loopy with only 7 health left.
Oh man, a wing leader hits the board, buffing Sabine. +2/+2 on that Sabine, now swinging for 5 damage. If Benthic gets to swing first, then Sabine is swinging for more than lethal. I think it might have been better to just swing with Benthic and buff Sabine, honestly, because then you would have lethal on the next action, whereas this one's still going to take 2. But maybe he has a heroic sacrifice in hand, which would allow Sabine to defeat the base in one shot. Quinlan flip. Big damage to the base. I don't think he's managed this at top efficiency, but I don't think that it matters. He is very close to lethal. He will very likely get to do at least 1 damage. Even if the next attack kills Benthic, R2 still gets to swing. And then at that point, if Sabine lives, that's it. If Sabine gets killed somehow, then he has the ping. It's looking like a very tough scenario for Loopy, but we'll see what happens. Quinlan goes for a swing, clearing Benthic 2 tubes.
Xavier still has that daring raid, right?
Oh, and you know what? It's just the daring raid to base, and that's it.
All right, Xavier, moving on to the finals.
Now, they bring out Plo Koon for some reason. I'm not actually sure what this game is over, right?
Should be. Loopy's probably just showing what else he had.
Yeah, just looking at cards or something. I don't know exactly what's happening, but it looks like Xavier has prevailed and is going to be moving on to the finals where he repeats this matchup. And if he can have the games go like that last one, he might be the winner of this event. That's very Xavier with the multiple small units game plan allowing him to dodge Quinlan's ping. I'm not sure we saw a single Quinlan ping go off this game. In fact, I'm pretty sure we did not see one go off.
All right, so our next match is going to be Carlos versus Xavier. It's going to be the same matchup again. So Xavier, after fighting through that difficult Quinlan matchup, gonna have to do it again for the finals.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I do think that if you have to play against Quinlan and Sabine, having one of these decks that has the ability to play a bunch of 1-drops is a lot better than having to walk into that Quinlan ping in Tarkentown with a 2-drop on the first turn. All right, we're going to be moving on to that next that final round shortly once that's set up.
All right, so we should be moving to the finals soon. I guess we can talk about some other stuff that's going on. If you're watching on the late night stream, in about 2 hours, Loopy is gonna have on Ryan Warner from Rebel Resource for the regular late night stream. Next week, it's gonna be across the network, showing up as a guest. What else is going on? We're gonna, I believe, have coverage of Richmond in a couple weeks on Late Night
Yep.
NTTI. And Tower, you're going to be doing it somewhere else also, right?
Yeah, I believe that. So I am part of the McClunky Gaming team, and I am going to be casting with them. I believe at Richmond. I think there's going to be multiple streams like there were in Denver. So yeah, stay tuned for more coverage from me and probably others as well over on the McClunky Gaming channel. We've done a ton of PQs. I mean, it's been a lot of fun doing some SWU casting, and we'll see how things go. Yeah, and Camden in the chat saying he chose to keep playing. He wanted that matchup instead of a DQ. It's better to play against great players than not. Yeah,
That's a good mindset.
like we were saying, like kind of a friendly event, not 100%, not 100% most competitive enforcement, and we'll see how things go in the finals here. Rebel Trader, did you say you were going to be casting Richmond?
Yeah, I will be, at least for some of the rounds, probably not the whole thing. We'll
Cool.
be doing it with TTI and Late Night together.
Okay. Yeah, it should be interesting to see how it all goes. I think it's very cool that even while we're still here in season 0, and even while we're still here in season 0, haven't seen season 1 yet. I think it's pretty fun to be having a community that already has this, streaming and coverage and stuff for these events, even just set up by the community and so on. And I think it's a nice sign that there's interesting competitive play for this title.
Yeah. Let's see. I can probably flash these lists here. This one, that one's Camden's list. This one is Loopy's list. I should have all these lists. This one is okay. There we go. This is Xavier's list. We just saw it, but we can talk about it in more detail. He's running a lot of 1-drops, 3 Benthicks, 2 the V-Wings, 2 Bones, 3 R2, 3 Soldier of the 501st, 2 Spec Force, only a few 2s, A-Wings, Bo-Katan, Y-Wings, Sabine, lots of upgrades. 1 Cabinet Chaos, a War Main, another one on the sideboard, 3 aggressions, maxing out at 4 cost. Makes sense. And
yeah, okay. I think this deck has a lot of those. It does have a 3rd Spec Force in the sideboard, but I do think that in matchups where you're not worried about Sentinels, in a lot of situations you'd rather play. If the opponent's not running Sentinels and you don't care about for a cause I believe in, why play Benthic 2 tubes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same stat line, has a very relevant ability. Now, you could say, well, it doesn't get buffed by Red 3, but Benthic 2 tubes is probably a better card than Spec Force Soldier if you're not worried about Sentinels, and in most matchups, you're not necessarily that worried. In terms of reach, we do have the Daring Raids, and we do have a Chaos of War main deck, and potentially another one that can be but there's only 1 K2, which honestly surprises me a lot. This deck definitely doesn't have the same ability to reach out there and do that extra damage to an opponent's base once they've stabilized. But it also has a really big flood of nice, cheap units that will hopefully prevent the opponent from getting to stabilization in the first place.
Yeah. Let's take a look at Carlos's Quinlan. It looks pretty standard. He does have pose in there, which is the only thing that not everybody's running pose, but it's pretty common. He's got Fang Fighters in there for some upgrade removal. Hit those twice the prides or arm to the teeth.
Yeah, it could be relevant in this matchup, and I think we saw him deal a heavy blow to the Sabine player's hopes earlier when he played a disabling Fang Fighter to knock out that Darksaber.
Yeah. Bamboozle's in the main deck also. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should be getting started here pretty soon.
All right.
All right, and we're getting started here with the finals of the Madison, Wisconsin 1K. 34 players, down to 2.
Yeah.
2 enter, only 1 leave.
Sabine, explosives artist, leading the game off from our Quinlan player. Honestly, a quite reasonable play here. A very strong card. And we do have the multiple small units from Xavier, but we are going to see potentially one of those units being cleared out by Sabine before it gets a chance to attack.
Yeah, it looks like a Soldier of the 501st. I think that's a Benthic. Hard to tell through the glare.
Yeah, I believe it's Soldier of the 501st and Benthic 2 tubes.
Yep, that's Benthic. And he's going to eat it to Sabine.
Yeah, defeats Benthic 2 tubes. Now, we could see Sabine removed here by Tarkentown. But looks like it's going to be a ping first.
Yeah, Xavier says, he might do that later, but right now he's in no need to rush it. Is that an ABG
That's going to be, I believe, Red 5 played out by Quinlan.
Yeah, that's an Aerobrick gaming token that Carlos is using to keep his hand. They were an old team in the Destiny days.
It's going to be a Sabine and one of those, what is that, Crackshot V-Wing units from earlier? Yep. And then, oh, very interesting. I didn't expect to see Soldier of the 501st swinging into Sabine there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Keeps the Tarkentown up.
I actually think that's a very major misplay from Xavier, because it now means that Red 5 there can take out 2 units in 1 action. I think I would have just gone with Tarkentown and pushing damage onto the base. I guess the alternative would be that Red 5 would have been able to attack base and then use the on attack to clear. But yeah, we see the double kill there, just as predicted. I don't think that's something that Xavier should have let him get, but we'll see how it goes. He does still have his own Tarkentown available for some other scenario in the future.
Yeah. For those of you that weren't around Destiny, ABG was kind of like the Bothan network of Destiny. That's not exactly analogous, but like kind of like KTOD. But I don't want to say they were the KTOD because Bobby was also around at that time. But the 2 teams worked very close together, and they did similar things.
3 to base from Sabine Explosives artist. Carlos plays another Sabine Explosives artist, pinging Xavier's. Tarkentown used to clear Red 5. Tarkentown used on the other side of things to clear Sabine. A crafty smuggler was played by Carlos. So now we're looking at Xavier's Sabine deploying onto a board with 2 enemy units and nothing on her own side. But Xavier still has 4 resources left. Brings out a Green Squadron A-Wing. And what else are we going to see here? Xavier has been doing a good job of kind of slow rolling his unit deploys to prevent pings from going off.
Twice the
wow,
pride.
that is so spicy. I do not know if I would have done that. But he throws twice the pride onto Sabine, allowing him to hit for a mighty 7 damage. But the problem is now his opponent's Sabine Explosives artist can defeat Sabine in 1 attack.
Yep.
Well, we'll see how this goes.
It does pretty much force that Sabine attack, though. Like, Carlos can't get away with doing much else. And we are going to see it.
Yeah, there's that trade, kind of as predicted there. And it's going to be Red 3 on the field now. If there's a Falcon here for Carlos, Xavier could be in huge trouble.
Yep.
It's not a falcon, but it is, I think, a waylay. So slightly greedy to play that red 3 before swinging, and he ends up paying for it by not getting a chance to make the attack.
And again, he plays
3 more
Bones
damage
here.
on the base here would have been really big.
Bones is
He
vulnerable to
plays
just
Mr.
getting knocked out by the
Yeah,
shield
Mr.
here.
Bones just gets taken out by the crafty smuggler. I don't know. I think Xavier has given up a lot of damage here. If he had, he could potentially have had an additional 3 damage from that A-wing, and then an additional potential multiple swings from the soldier, the 501st that he traded. At minimum, he could have had 5 more damage here, I think. And I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be able to get there right now. Okay, so the Hotshot Blaster on Quinlan making him swing for 5, but red 3 swings first. 16 damage on Quinlan's base, 14 damage on Sabine's base. That means that we have 9 HP left for one and 11 for the other. It's going to be the Green Squadron A-Wing that was bounced by that Waylay now coming back into play. If we have that off aspect Rebel Assault in hand for Sabine, I think that would be a kill here. Is that correct?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it would be.
I think it's exact lethal. So we could potentially see an abrupt claim, but I don't know if he has it.
It's only a 1 of in the main, so not guaranteed,
Yeah.
certainly.
Oh, Bo-Katan. So Bo-Katan, double red Bo-Katan is a 3/3. And when defeated, you draw a card for each base with 15 or more damage on it, I believe. So if this Bo-Katan, Xavier will actually draw 2 cards, which might be quite a boon at this time.
Yeah. All right, force throw. It wasn't Rebel Assault.
It wasn't Rebel Assault, but it's going to be another twice the pride, and 2 damage is no, I would not ping there. Just take initiative.
Well, I mean, I guess I think the ping is
I guess he
probably
thinks
safe
his opponent
there.
has at least 1 more play. Okay, yeah, that's fair. And
that's a rough play.
Falcon, that's going to be a big problem here for our Sabine player. Falcon, the Quinlan ping removes red 3, and the swing there is going to take the A-Wing off the field as well. So
that might be I mean, it could be correct. But he also could have gone into base, which would have made it so Quinlan is lethal.
I think this is going to be game. I don't think our Sabine player can get there, and it looks like he may agree. I think he's cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Tough situation there. I do think if we had that additional 5 damage from playing those interactions differently, that we would have actually had lethal there with that Bo-Katan. So ultimately couldn't quite get there, but I think it maybe Xavier could have won that game if he had prioritized damaging the base a bit more and then not been as greedy with the A-Wing red 3 play later on. Hard to say though, and of course difficult to second guess things from the commentators booth and have a good sense of what was going on field for the players who have also played quite a few games of Star Wars Unlimited today. We'll see whether or not Xavier can come back and get the win.
If it doesn't trade Rebel Assault, would have been lethal from Sabine. Yeah, it would have been. Assuming Bo-Katan is Rebel, which I'm pretty sure she is.
No, she's not. She's Bo-Katan is Mandalorian. Yeah, Mandalorian and Trooper, I think.
Well, Carlos had it either way. Was just being safe. I mean, he probably knew if Xavier didn't have didn't have it, then he didn't have it. And it didn't really matter where he attacked with Falcon, but killing the A-Wing reduced some options. All right, let's see if we can show these sideboards.
All right.
So we can talk about what might come in. This is Sabine's. Bit more reach in there. Few more upgrades also. Do you think you bring in Chaos of War in this matchup?
No. I mean, maybe you would just to try to have some extra reach, but this isn't one of the matchups where I think it's really strong. I think it's ideal for situation, especially against like blue villainy decks that are running Pershing and have a lot of card draw, or like a Bosk blue deck that runs some of those card draw bounties. I think typically you want it against decks that generate a large amount of card advantage, which is not normally what Quinlan does. But you might want it just to have something that you can maybe use for some extra reach.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember last PQ I was at, I was playing Kira and I ran into someone playing Kylo Red that was also running Chaos of War, and I got hit bad by it in game 1. And in game 2 I was like, I'm not playing Pershing. I'm not drawing any cards. Ended up working out. All right, this is Carlos's sideboard. Got a lot of stuff for late games, but I also think we're going to see Shadow Hover Tank come in. It lines up really well into Sabine on 4.
Yeah, it can be. Especially if the Sabine... Now, there are some answers. We could see like a Heroic Resolve buffing Sabine, allowing her to clear it and remain alive. But even then, you would then be in a spot where you're not getting maximum value of that card on. I guess what you would really want is something like, a smaller unit that can be sacrificed to remove it, or a Wing Leader buffed Sabine or something like that.
Yeah. All right. I think we're getting started here pretty soon. All right, so it looks like Xavier has initiative this time. I'm not sure I would have taken it. It looks like he's going to start with Sabine pinging Quinlan. Carlos is going to start with the L3, and Xavier's got one drop there and another 1-drop. Can't quite tell what one that is.
I think, yeah. So one of them is a Soldier of the 501st. I think the other one might be, I think it might be a Benthic 2 Tubes. Not sure.
Yeah.
Now, L3 could, of course, be in a good spot to... No, it's actually a Mr. Bones.
It's Benthic, I think.
No, it's Mr. Bones.
Yeah, it's Bones. And
but one way or another, it doesn't really matter, because L3 kills either of those while remaining alive, thanks to her shield.
Yep.
Now we see the swing from Soldier of the 501st into the base. Another 2 damage. Now, what unit is that?
It's a
Sabine, I think?
I think Sabine.
Sabine, and then on Xavier's side of the board, we have a
Fighters for Freedom.
Fighters for Freedom, and avoiding the pings once more. 1 cost. He does have a Hotshot Blaster in hand. It gives the Hotshot Blaster to L3. That does mean L3 could now trade for either of these units, but it means that the Sabine player is going to get the initiative here.
So now Xavier has a chance to go like run the 501st into L3 so they trade, and the L3 doesn't survive and can't kill the fighters. We're also going into 4, so he could potentially have aggression, which could knock out one of those units.
Yeah, let's see here.
All right, just gonna run fighters to base here.
Okay, so we're up at 6 damage on Quinlan's base. Now, this is interesting. L3 uses that Hotshot Blaster to take out the Soldier of the 501st. Still alive because the Soldier of the 501st is a 1/3 with raid 1. But it also creates a scenario where Tarkentown can be used here to remove... Tarkentown can be used here to remove L3.
Yeah.
Crackshot V-Wing. Ooh. Red 5, very relevant here. Pings. That ping is going to allow Tarkentown to be used to clear the Fighters for Freedom, but they're getting extra value with another Soldier of the 501st being played and then resolving a ping from the Fighters for Freedom, extra damage to the base. Now, we are in a situation where that red 5 can swing into base and use its on-attack ability to kill the Crackshot V-Wing. Sabine, Explosives Artist, clears out that Soldier of the 501st. We could end up with Quinlan clearing most of Sabine's units here.
Yeah.
Sabine hits the field, still 2 resources.
Xavier still has Tarkentown, so he can.
Once again he goes for this, in my opinion, extremely dubious. Twice the Pride. Does allow Sabine to hit really hard, but it also puts her in 1-hit kill range. I don't know that that's worth it, but maybe it is. And Tarkentown now clearing one of these units. Okay, so the L3 with the pistol is removed. So we could see the Sabines trading here, and then we could see a swing from the V-Wing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the Twice the Pride is worth it here.
Yeah, twice
the problem is that it makes Sabine easier to remove.
One of the things you get with Twice the Pride is that Carlos now has to trade Sabines, basically, which means that Crackshot is going to get a shot off when it probably wouldn't have gotten one before.
Yeah, but if he hadn't played it, then Sabine probably would have got a shot off worth more. But also the previous one would have been worth less, and maybe he would have had Plo Koon or something anyway. So, like, I don't know. Maybe that's a good play. It seems risky, but, you know, he's got to kind of go out here. Does he have some kind of attack buff for this V-Wing? At minimum, he can just swing in for 2 more. Normally, 18 HP at this place would be pretty good for Sabine, but the problem is that this double red deck does not have For a Cause.
Looks like he's got aggression, and I can't tell what the other card is.
Yeah. Gonna swing in for 2 more. If Quinlan does anything other than attack... Okay, so deploys Quinlan. So what we could see here is aggression, kill red 5, ready that unit. The problem is if Quinlan plays any unit, he can ping off the V-Wing with the ping now that he doesn't have to match costs exactly. But we could see aggression to kill the red 5 and draw a card, maybe? I'm not sure.
I think you can't let that red 5 live either way. So.
Yeah, it's got to go. And there it is. He opts for the defeat and draw, knowing that his own probably get pinged off.
It looks like he picked up a second aggression.
I mean, aggression's a good card, but it's not ideal here when you don't have a board.
Or no, I think that was. I think I saw him. I think I saw him moving it to discard. That wasn't what he drew.
Initiative taken. Quinlan swinging into base. Falcon swinging into base. So Quinlan now with total board control, but not a lot of HP left on the base. And this is one of those scenarios where you would really want to be going for a cause I believe in, Chaos of War, whatever you might have for that extra reach in your deck. And I don't know if Xavier's deck has enough reach to allow him to win here, but we'll have to see.
Ooh, K2.
K2SO is one of the cards he most wants to see here.
Yeah.
If Quinlan defeats K2, there's still going to be 3 damage to the base, which will get him closer. And if Quinlan doesn't defeat K2, K2 can swing for 4. We could potentially, if there's a Heroic Sacrifice in here, Heroic Sacrifice on K2 actually wins the game in one shot. Because the combination of the bonus damage from the Heroic Sacrifice and the when defeated effect would actually win things. But let's see what happens. 3 to base from the Falcon.
Carlos does have some catching up to do in terms of damage.
Sabine Ping, only 6 HP left. Even if Carlos kills K2, we could see another Sabine Ping plus a Darien Raid ending this game.
Yeah. Is that, I think, Mr. Bones for Xavier?
Yeah, I think that's a Mr. Bones, just another threatening unit. The problem is it's not threatening enough. It gets pinged off the board. Mr. Bones is 1 HP is really unsuited for this sort of scenario. We can see another 6 damage here from Quinlan and that Cassian that just got sent in. So that would leave 21 HP on Sabine's base. And now both players are in this, if I have a buff, it's lethal territory.
Yeah. All right, Xavier.
What does he have? I don't see an event there in Xavier's hand. I think Carlos has got it.
I think he might have a Heroic Resolve, which gives him a chance to win if Carlos doesn't have a pump or a way to deal with the K2.
Yeah, so if he plays a Heroic Resolve and Carlos doesn't have either a pump or a way to kill K2, he can Heroic Resolve K2 into the base and win. But does he have it? 1 Heroic Resolve. Okay, is there an answer? Yes, the Hot Shot Blaster on Quinlan comes in for lethal. Carlos wins the game.
Good game. And with that, he wins the tournament. Congratulations, Carlos. And congrats, Xavier.
Well played, Carlos, on Sabine, or I'm sorry, on Quinlan Tarkentown, defeating the Sabine Tarkentown in a 2-0 final match.
All right. Thank you then for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who made this possible. Tower, Royal for commentating with me. Loopy for, I think we're using some of his equipment. Brian, owner of the store, Misty Mountain Games, who I think we're also using some of his equipment. Might actually even be all of his equipment. I'm not actually sure whose equipment we're using. Some combination of Loopy and Brian. Thank you to all the judges and tournament organizers for making this smooth. They were communicating with us the whole time, helping resolve rules issues, telling us what was called on Kira's and whatnot. Yeah.
Thanks to you too for doing this commentary yourself, Rebel Trader.
Yeah. All right. If you're watching on late night, in about an hour and a half, they're going to have Ryan Warner, Rebel Resource, on for the regular late night stream. So tune in for that. And I think I'm just going to end the stream here.
Sounds good. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you all later.
And if you made it this far, you're our hero.